Top it up with extra cheese, please. And it's just in time for our pasta to be al dente. And this time we're going to, oh my God, shit. Yep, it's a disaster today. So we got our first course, our arugula with roasted beets, feta, clementines, and pistachios. One of the main dishes, spaghetti with basil pesto. Oh my goodness, decadent chocolate croissant bread pudding.
Hi, I'm Yuna. Welcome to your favorite recipe. Today, I'm really excited to show you how you can make a 3-course meal under 30 minutes. Say what? Under 30 minutes, 3 different dishes? If time allows, we might actually make it in 4. So let's get started.
So for the dessert, it's going to be absurdly easy. You may not know this, but the original bread pudding is actually using any stale or leftover bread that you're not going to be able to eat as bread. And we got buttery croissant. As you see, I don't even have butter because all the butter is in between these layers. So just roughly chop all these croissants into bite sizes. This dessert has bourbon in it. It's not going to be a boozy type of dessert, so it is pretty kids friendly because alcohol with heat will just go away. Make sure you lay your croissant in a single layer so that all the croissants are going to be evenly coated in our custard. And now moving on to making our custard. So the first ingredient, 5 eggs. The next ingredient is 3 cups of half and half. I'm actually going to use 2 1/4 cup. And the rest, I'm going a little lighter with 1% milk. So about 3/4 cups milk. And the next thing, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And got a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I already poured out a 1/4 cup of bourbon. This is completely optional if you do not like the taste or the smell of bourbon. Now just whisk this around. So here we have our custard. It's definitely spiked with a little bit of bourbon here, and I'm loving it. I'm going to add our last ingredient, which is, of course, sugar. So the recipe calls for this bread to be soaked up to an hour, but one trick that I'm going to use is I'm actually going to warm up the bread a little bit. I'm actually broiling the croissant for about 1 minute or so, just to give a little bit of that crispy top, just enough that the custard will be absorbed. So our custard's ready, and the recipe calls for semi-sweet chocolate. I have dark chocolate sea salt caramel. And I think it's time for our bread. Okay, so we got our nicely toasted croissant. So when the croissants meet heat, and especially after they're chopped up like this, the butter between these layers is going to slowly sip out. We have the custard that we whisked up. That's a hard word, isn't it? Yes. So I'm just going to gently pour all over and make sure that no sugar is sitting at the bottom. Constantly doing this. Chill the chocolate. It's actually easier to work with after you put it in the refrigerator or even the freezer for a little bit. You see this caramel? Oh yeah, that's going to look amazing and taste amazing too. And the next thing is going to be just spread this chocolate all over. It's already done, and I'm going to put this aside while I prepare the rest of our meal. Moving on to the next course, which we have our main entree. We got basil pesto, which is going to be a 3-minute thing, thanks to our blender. Actually, before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and boil the water. And I know it'll take another 10 minutes to cook our spaghetti al dente. So I'm challenging myself and giving myself 20 minutes to prepare the rest of our meal. All right, let's get started. So boil our water over high heat and resume. Just right into our blender. I've got a 1/3 cup of pine nuts, and the recipe calls for 2 large garlic cloves, roughly chopped, but this blender is going to just blend everything, so I'm not even going to bother. I like my pesto to be a little bit on the extra garlicky side, so adding 1 more. Key ingredient, basil. 2 cups of it, tightly packed in our blender. So just pressed it in, and then fresh cracked salt, fresh cracked pepper, about a 1/4 teaspoon, and we got 2/3 cup of extra virgin olive oil. So the recipe calls for 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese. And of course, if you need more, you can always blend this up and taste it and then add more ingredients. And lastly, we got our lemon. Lemon here is not mentioned, but I always like to add a little bit of lemon, and our job is done. And magic's about to be created right here. Tightly sealed, turn it on. Not every ingredient gets mixed in, so just give it a nice little shake and go one more time at a low speed, because at this point everything has been blended pretty. So beautiful. So there you go. We have our beautiful, fresh, just flavor-packed basil pesto right here. Very, very good. Super fresh. I'm going to actually go ahead and tightly seal this back so that it prevents our pesto from oxidizing and it will not turn brown like avocado does. Okay, so we just made our basil pesto, and I'm looking at water here and it's not boiling yet, so I wanted to take this opportunity and take advantage of it and make pizza. So I have store-bought pizza dough right here, so I've let it proof for some time, and we're going to make another recipe out of the same book. It is 3-cheese white pizza with arugula. I'm going to dust the pan with flour, and we're really going to stretch this out. Making pizza at home can be a little bit intimidating, but with your store-bought pizza dough, you're actually going to gain some confidence. What did Gordon Ramsay say? You need to learn to cook with confidence, but easy recipes will give you the confidence to cook. Knead it a little bit. So you'll notice the dough will actually start to pull away from you, which is fine. Just keep working at it, keep pulling it. And then so once the dough catch up some of these holes, what we are going to do is now decorate the toppings. So the first thing first is drizzle olive oil on this dough, but I got about a tablespoon of olive oil. So do nicely. The recipe also calls for some chopped garlic on top of our pizza. We're going to bake this just as is right now, olive oil and just garlic, on the lower rack of our oven. So set our temperature at 500. So this actually, the preheating time will give enough time for the dough to start to kind of ferment again. So the garlic and olive oil are getting to know each other a little better right now. So set that aside. So the recipe calls for a handful of arugula, just like this. And we got 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a tablespoon of squeezed lemon, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then a few grains of fresh cracked black pepper. And lastly, our Parmigiano-Reggiano cheese, and mix this in. And you're not going to bake arugula salad on top of the pizza in the oven because they will just kill it. You're going to only top it up as our salad. So time to put the dough in our oven. The recipe calls for 6 to 8 minutes. So while the pizza's in the oven, I figured this is a great time to just go ahead and make the salad dressing. This recipe calls for roasted beets, and to save some time in this recipe, I went ahead and brought store-bought roasted cooked beets. If you're preparing beets from scratch, it could take up to an hour, so this saves me a lot of time. And the pizza's in the oven, the water is boiling, and I'm going to actually go ahead and cook the pasta. For the salad dressing, we're going to have, let's see, 6 tablespoons of olive oil. Quarter cup of red wine vinegar, and then a teaspoon of honey. We have a 1 tablespoon of finely chopped shallots. So about a tablespoon, I think that's about that. Quarter teaspoon of freshly cracked pepper, quarter teaspoon of salt. That's about it for our salad dressing. So once it's ready, I'm going to put the lid on it and start going at it. Oh, beautiful. Time to taste, of course. Wow, that's great. So we got our salad dressing ready, and I got the pizza back out, and now it's time to top our just over so slightly cooked dough with the rest of our cheese. And then the next cheese we got is our mozzarella. 2 cups, which is what the recipe calls for, but I'm going to use my hand to spread the cheese all over the board. So this is going to go right back in the oven, and it is just in time for our pasta to be al dente. This time we're going to put the pizza on the top rack for 5 minutes. So turn off the heat. Fresh pasta. I love draining pasta because I get free facial here. Perfect. Preheat the oven to 350. So this dessert is going to take about 20 minutes to bake. Time to plate our meals. We got our fresh cooked pasta. And this is so easy because we've got this pre-made basil pesto. I'm going to give it a little stir so the oil is not separated. And I'm going to pour just a little bit over it. You can just toss this around on a plate. Top it up with extra cheese, please. So our main dish 1 is ready. So our pizza's still in the oven, our dessert's definitely in the oven, and our spaghetti's ready, and our first course is about to be prepared. So we got 5 ounces of arugula in a little bowl. I have store-bought fully cooked beets here, and I'm just going to chop it and into bite sizes. And now all I have to do is just peel our clementines. We got our pistachio. Yeah, top it off. And what I'll do is, and our last ingredient is pretty quick. This is where it gets so exciting. We got feta cheese to top it off. Crumble it even more. Our pre-made salad dressing. Pour it on. Beautiful. Woo! It's gorgeous. And now I'm actually going to top the pizza off with our pre-made arugula salad. So this is our main course and our dessert. Our course meal under 30 minutes right here. So So we got the salad, arugula salad with roasted beets, clementines, feta, and pistachios with beautiful red wine balsamic dressing. We made our spaghetti with basil pesto, and we had some spare time, so we made extra pizza, right, Evie? And it's topped with our leftover arugula salad. And our last dessert, oh my goodness, Decadent chocolate croissant bread pudding. My friend Evie here is going to try. Which one would you like to try?
This one.
Okay, have a little bite. Is that hot? Is that hot?
A little bit.
Is it sweet?
No.
Okay, I guess we need to add a little more sugar here. Is it not sweet? Or is it sweet?
A little bit.
Well, I'm going to try a little bite on that note. All right, so I'm going to end this soon. That's good. So this is it. 3-course meal, or in this case, 4-course meal under 30 minutes. And I hope that you make this, and when you make it, let me know how it turns out, and leave in comments below how much you liked it, and double tap if you love it, and let me know how I can also improve. And if there are other recipes that you would like me to test and film and share with you, please let me know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.